What's up, beautiful people? I am running late today. Sorry. Could not get a stream deck, so I was trying to figure out a way to get this chat working and get everything working today. I don't know if we have anybody in the room yet. Have to wait a second and see. Looks like we got one viewer in the room. So yeah, I actually just got back from Fontana, California. Got two viewers. What's up, guys? Over here in B camera. What's up, guys? Just got back from hey, Random Nomad. What's going on, buddy? I just got back from Fontana, California. My office here, I have a when I got this office, I had no shelving or anything, so I've been accumulating stuff, and it's just been piling up against the wall because I had no shelving or anything, and it was getting to the point where I couldn't even get in and out of the door. It was so unorganized, and it was driving me crazy. But I had a specific shelf that I wanted. I wanted a wire, it's hard to explain. I wanted like an equipment shelf with casters on it, but I wanted it to be black, which are hard to find. You can find the silver ones pretty easily. I found one in Fontana, California, drove up today, got it, and then came back. Hey, Amy Preston, what is going on? So anyway, I'm trying to run this stream today without the stream deck with a workaround. So I'm not exactly sure how it's going to work, but we're going to try to make it work. We should be live already, Linda. Good to see you, Linda. Again, I'm running a little bit late. Let's see what time it is. 7:10. I'm not too late. I've been on a couple of minutes already. I was about 8 minutes late, I guess. Anyway, let's get this party started, guys. What do you say? And we're on a camera. So anyway, last show, Amy Preston, Random Nomad, Linda says, where the hell is everyone? I don't know. Where is everyone? We got 4 viewers in here. It takes a minute, and I'm running late, so we might have some people bounce out. The viewing audience visits some national parks this Labor Day and disappear. I don't know if they did or not, but I watched a couple of episodes, or I watched a documentary on YouTube that's free. Do we get the buffering issues again? Random Nomad, we shouldn't get the buffering issues again. If everything, we're on my regular Wi-Fi. Oh, wait a minute. I forgot to turn one of the lights on. Give me 2 seconds. I forgot to put the battery in it. Give me 2 seconds, guys. That should be better. I was, when the A camera switched over from B camera, I was like, man, it is dark in here. Why is it so dark? I was like, it was bugging me. I couldn't concentrate because I couldn't figure out why it was so dark. Oh, it was so dark because I forgot to turn on freaking one of my lights. Anyway, let's see. Hopefully there's no buffering. I'm on my, we're on 5G internet right now. Like I said, I'm doing a workaround. I'm not using my Stream Deck app that's on my phone. There is a workaround. It's manual. I'm not going to say it's a lot more complicated, but it's a little bit more complicated because I have to actually use a mouse and switch between screens. But I can do it. It's just a little more complicated than just pushing a button. I was not able to get a Stream Deck for today's show. I knew that wouldn't happen. But anyway, so this weekend, must be your phone. Or are you buffering again? Is anybody else buffering? Shouldn't be buffering today, hopefully. Let me see something really quick in the settings here. I don't think I can change. don't think I can change my output settings. Yeah, I've got the bitrate down to 4500. That should not be buffering. I mean, I could drop it down to 25, but the quality is going to suffer a lot. It may be your phone there, Random Nomad. Last stream was interesting, just cut out at 51 minutes, 48 seconds right in the middle of you saying something. Yeah, so that's why we're, Random Nomad, that's why we're doing the workaround today. I'm not doing my jetpack. Hold on just a second. I'm going to show you what we ran the last show off of. I was very tempted to do it today. Here's my jetpack. This is the jetpack. This is my hotspot that I use in my truck. And this thing does very, very well. When I was over at my old office, all of the shows I did from my old office, I had no internet there for the building. Serena never paid for internet for like my office. She had it from downstairs in her office, but I never had it, so I had to use my jetpack. And my jetpack actually worked. It worked pretty well. Every show I ever did was through this jetpack. But the difference between there and here is the tower for Verizon was right outside my window, like literally right outside my window. It was, I mean, I could throw a foot. I mean, it was probably 30 steps away from my window. So I had a great signal over there that I don't have as much signal here. But if you're a nomad, this is my internet in my truck. This thing gives me Netflix. I've played Xbox on it. If you're in a good area, but I'm in an interior building, so there's outside offices and then there's inside offices. I'm in an inside office because I had to have an office without a window, so I could do this show at any time I wanted to do it, like right now, and I didn't have to deal with the sunlight coming through windows, blocking off windows and stuff. So I had to get an interior office where there's no windows. But anyway, so last show we were running off of this jetpack, and it does cut out from time to time, especially if it doesn't get a really good signal, and it cut out right there at the end of the show. So today we're not running off the jetpack, we're running off the 5G, so nobody should be buffering, hopefully. If you're buffering today, it's your internet, because I should be getting, let's see what we're getting here. I can tell you in just a second, and it'll be slower than it really is because we're using it. Oh, I'm getting 83, 80, 84, 82, 80, 79.5, and about 8 megabits per second on the upload. 79.5 and 6.96, about 7 on the upload, which is slower than what it really would be because we're using it to stream. So that's 5G right there, baby. So how was everybody's weekend? I ended up just taking the whole weekend off. It was it was a holiday weekend, so I actually just decided just to take it all off. I'd been working, and I didn't realize like how tired and exhausted I was, and I basically got to it got to 121 degrees here in Woodland Hills over the weekend. Woodland Hills is up in the valley up north, but it's where Joe Rogan's his studio is. Stream looks great, Raph. Thank you, Freedom Dove. Good to hear that. But yeah, so in Woodland Hills, which is up in the valley, it's up by Calabasas, where the Kardashian, I call it the land of the Kardashians up there. It's where Hidden Hills is. It's where Joe Rogan's studio is. But Woodland Hills got to 121 degrees on Saturday. So it was 100 and about 110, 11 where I was. But my very good friends, I shot their wedding, the Boems, they let me house set because they were going to Laughlin for the weekend. So they have a little dog named Baxter. He's the cutest thing, but he is a royal pain in the butt. He's a little senile, so he just barks at shadows and barks at anything, but he's cute, and I like hanging out with him. And So anyway, I ended up pet sitting and staying at their house and house sitting for the weekend. And they've got a big, beautiful house. It's literally just 10 minutes from my office here. So I planned on coming in yesterday and Saturday and getting some work done. I ended up laying on the couch the entire weekend watching Game of Thrones. And during that time, though, Saturday, I also watched, there's a new documentary here on YouTube, and it's 411, Missing 411. So I thought it'd be a great topic for today to, if you haven't seen the documentary here on YouTube, there is a free, there's a couple of them that are paid that you have to pay for or you have to rent. But one of the new episodes is free. Let me see if I can find the link for you guys here. It's the one that I watched. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah, here it is right here. It's free with ads. I mean, if you don't mind the ads. Let's see. I'm going to post the link in the room for you guys, and I will try to remember to post the link in the description down below after the podcast is over, guys. So I'm shooting you the link to the Missing documentary 411, so you can watch that for free. I watched it. This particular now, if you're not familiar with the Missing 411, it is there are a bunch of audio books type interviews that are done here on YouTube. I'm not sure if you can still find them, but used to you could find them, and I used to listen to them all the time. And it's a gentleman that was a previous police officer, and he has investigated all of these people that have come up missing, that have disappeared over the years. And there have been hundreds of people, and lots of them have come up missing in national parks under very strange circumstances, and even in cities. And the people that disappears in cities, they're there 1 minute and then they just vanish. And they all have these similarities. And like in the cities, they're always like by a body of water. So if you're not familiar with Missing 411, it fascinates me. The one that I watched this weekend, it basically showed toddlers, like little 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds that disappeared. For me, those are pretty easy. Every single one of those were like little kids. I think there was 2 or 3 in the episode, 2-year-old, 3-year-old. But they were walking, so for sure, I absolutely believe that they were. It was an animal encounter with those kids. They were both found afterwards, I believe, and one of them, their body or their clothing and stuff, and even the skull cap of their skull was way up in the rocks, which to me just has mountain lion written all over it. You know, mountain lion grabbed that kid. He was right there. He was right there with his grandfather, and then just kind of disappeared. And then another one was on a trail with some other adults. Hey, if you've ever seen a mountain lion stalking, and it doesn't take but a split second for him to grab a kid. And it could even have been an eagle. I know it said in the documentary, I mean, an eagle could have grabbed one of these kids because they weigh like 30 pounds, 25, 30 pounds. And an eagle could actually pick up those kids. Let's see. Give me 2 seconds here. I forgot to post the link to the podcast and the Facebook page. See if we can get some more. See if we can get some more viewers in here. Booyah. Let's get back in the chat here and see what you guys have to say. So anyway, yeah, I posted the link, the one that I posted the link for you guys. I believe, I wholeheartedly believe that those toddlers, I believe that they were abducted by animals. Could have been a bear too, Random Nomad, very well. I don't really think it was a bear. Just for the simple fact is there was people with these kids. These kids were not by themselves. They were toddlers. So I'm pretty sure a bear makes a lot of noise. If you've ever been out and you've ever encountered a bear, they make a lot of noise moving through the forest or moving through the woods, moving through the trees. Mountain lions, on the other hand, they don't. They stalk their prey. They're very quiet, and they can grab something and be gone before you even know it. But there are several other accounts of this 411 where grown-ups, hunters. Hey, Joel P., what's up, brother? Good to see you. Thanks for joining in, man. There are hunters. Some of the ones that really not baffle me, but some of the ones that really interest me are the hunters. There have been several hunters that are we're not talking about weekend warrior hunters. We're talking about lifelong hunters that are very, 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 they're very familiar with their surroundings. They're very familiar with the mountain ranges that they're in. And they go out hunting. They've got a weapon with them, sometimes more than one weapon with them, and they just vanish and are never seen again. And they never find remnants of a gun. If it was an animal encounter, you would find those guns. Those guns, somebody would stumble upon them at some point. When you got a long gun, and some of these guys are carrying they're carrying a handgun on their hip as well for an animal encounter. That's if you're out hunting and you're worried you're going to encounter a bear, you don't really want your long gun for a bear because it may take you a minute to get aimed. So having a handgun on your hip for a bear or for a mountain lion or something like that. But these hunters have disappeared as well, and they've disappeared without a trace. Freedom Dove says alien abduction. 44. Not sure what that was. Big cat, yeah. Thanks, Rev. I'll check that out. Wow, fell behind 20 seconds. Huh. But yeah, so there's been several 44, 45, yeah. Carrying a 45 or 357, yeah, for sure. Random Nomad. 45 is my favorite. Yeah, 38 special. You do not want to be shooting a bear with a 38 special, Freedom Dove. No, not even in the head. 357, 44, or 45 for bear. And you still may not knock them down with that if you don't hit them in the right spot. But you're going to need a large caliber weapon on a bear. You could get a mountain lion with a 38. Yeah, you're just going to piss it off. Random Nomad nailed it. But anyway, so yeah, there's... Joel P. says, when we hike, the last person must be in sight of the first. That's very smart. Very, very smart. Freedom Dove, I'm only 100 pounds. Yeah, they'll grab you in no time. No wonder you got just a 38. You'd have a hard time carrying around any of those large caliber weapons. I hope to never come across a bear. I can't handle the bigger guns. Yeah, gotcha. That makes sense. Yeah, the buddy system is very, very. It's if you're not an avid hiker. I'm one of those guys that I lived in Joshua Tree for 3 years. I used to go out to the desert because I do night photography. So when I was living in Joshua Tree, one of the reasons I wanted to move out there was to do a lot of night photography. And I did a lot of night photography. If you've ever looked at my website, there's some of those shots that I did. There's some shots I did at the very last few pages of the auto scroll. You'll see some of the night photography I did out in Joshua Tree National Park. Let me see if I can type in that link for you guys. Yeah, so I just dumped my URL if you've never seen any of my photography. So my website, I just dropped the website in there, and the website, just open it up, just click on the link, and it'll auto scroll. You don't have to do anything. Just click on it, and it'll scroll through the pictures, and the last pictures are night photography shots I did out in Joshua Tree National Park. So when I lived out in Joshua Tree for 3 years, I would get ready bear works all right for 2 to 4 legs. Does bear spray actually work on bears? Yes, it does, Freedom Dove, but a man was just attacked a couple of days or maybe last week, and he sprayed a bear with the bear spray, and the bear spray didn't work, and the bear actually got him. He lived, from what I understand, but the bear did attack him, and the bear spray did not work. So you got to be careful. You know, a gun's not always going to work. And what people don't understand is bears can outrun a horse. So you're not going to outrun a bear. A bear can track down a horse. A bear can run down a horse, and horses are fast. And a bear can outrun a horse. So if you try to run from a bear, that's the worst thing you can do. Joel P says, I do star trails. Jimmy Allen and I have spoken about doing a night photography night. Bear spray. I was afraid of that. Yeah. If you're lucky, it'll work. If you get them right in the face with it, maybe. But if you miss them or anything, you're in big, big trouble. Freedom Dove, playing dead is the best then. Yeah, that's one of the options. It's if you encounter a bear, you just gotta cross your fingers that they're just gonna, that they don't get spooked, and you don't come across a mama bear with her cubs. With black bears, aren't you supposed to confront them? Yeah. I actually just watched a video this weekend of a girl that was jogging on a jogging trail, and the bear came out on the jogging trail with her, an Asian girl, and she basically just stood still. She did the right thing. She just stood still, and the bear kind of reached out and pawed her leg a little bit, just tapped her on the leg. She didn't spook. She just kind of moved away from the bear, and then she eased away from the bear, and then she didn't take off running. She just jogged away, and the bear just chilled. Let's see, Joe P. I'm less worried about bears than people. Yeah, you can definitely come across some strange people out there, and in certain places as well. But anyway, back to my deal with Joshua Tree. So I used to go out, and when I was going to go out for a night in Joshua Tree and shoot in the park, I would literally get ready and leave my house about 10:30 and at night, and I would drive downtown Joshua Tree. There was a 24-hour subway, so I would grab me a Subway sandwich at the Valero there in downtown Joshua Tree. And then the park's about 4 miles from downtown Joshua Tree, and then I'd drive out to the park. I'd get out to my spot, the first turnoff, the first little camping and rock formation in Joshua Tree National Park that's on the right. It's about 5 miles into the park. I'd pull in there. They have some camping. They have some actual picnic tables. And I would sit there in the pitch black dark and eat my Subway sandwich and drink my soda or whatever I had, my lemonade or whatever I had, and just take in the surroundings. It'd be pitch black, but I always went out there on a full moon. That was my photography niche. Is I did this night photography when it was a full moon. Most photographers, not most, all photographers that do night photography are waiting on nights that it's the darkest, and I went right the opposite. I only did my photography on nights that it was full moon. I got a whole different concept of shots than what you see most night photographers do. Yeah, by the light of the moon. So anyway, and I would hike. There was times when I would drive 25, 30 miles into the park and find places, and I would just hike out into the park. And these nights, it was so bright that you really didn't even need a flashlight. I'd take my light, my helmet light, and but I really didn't even need a flashlight. It'd just be so bright. The only thing I was ever worried about was snake encounters. There's a lot of Mojave green rattlesnakes out there. So I was always leery of running upon a Freedom Dove. Your photography is very good. Thank you so much, Freedom Dove. Headlamp. Yeah, that's what I was trying to think of, Random Nomad. And yeah, my headlamp. I had a, God, I can't even think of the name of it. It's a very bougie. It's for mountain climbing and mountaineering because I do that as well. That's why you get snake guards. Yeah, for sure. I never had them. I just wore my hiking boots. But yeah, a lot of people do have snake guards. I just never did. I grew up in West Texas. You know, I'd go out to feed. I went out to feed the horses when I was a kid in the barn and open up we had these big 50-gallon like oil drums that were previously oil drums that we cleaned out and made horse feed. Would put the oats and stuff in these big drums. And there was a couple of times if you didn't shut the lid good, that I'd pull the lid off because my dad didn't shut the lid all the way and there was a gap in it, and I'd open the lid and reach down. We'd have these Folger cans, coffee cans, old tin Folger coffee cans, and that's what we used as the scoop to scoop the horse oats out of the big drum. And I'd go to reach down into the barrel, and there'd be a rattlesnake laying in the bottom of laying in the oats because my dad didn't shut the lid good. And then I'd go to the house or go griping at him, telling him he didn't shut the damn lid good, and a rattlesnake crawled in the damn oats barrel. So I've been around snakes. I remember my little sister when she was 2 or 3, she walked right across a rattlesnake. We were walking out to the barn, and I looked down, and the rattlesnake was going right between her feet. And luckily she didn't get bit. I ran to the house and got a gun and shot the snake in the head, and I was 7 or 8 years old. And there's a picture of me when I was 7 or 8 years old holding the rattlesnake, and the rattlesnake's as long as I am tall. But my dad was at work, so my mom was in the house, so I ran to the house, got a gun, and killed me a rattlesnake. Yeah, with a .22. Exactly right. .22 rifle. But anyway, so I'm not really into the paranormal, or I can't say that I was ever been a big believer in the paranormal. You eat it after you killed it? No, we didn't eat it after we killed it, Random Nomad. We would leave it on the hood of our pickup upside down in its belly because it'll bring rain. If you put a dead rattlesnake with its belly up to it's an old wise tale superstition, but it always would rain if you leave them out there. And when you live out in like Texas, you want it to rain out in the desert. So anyway, I'm not really heard it's actually good to eat. Yeah, I've heard that too. I don't think I've ever had a rattlesnake. I've had just about everything, but I don't think I've ever had a rattlesnake. But I'm not really never been a big believer of the paranormal or anything like that. I've seen a couple of things when I was a kid, but just thought it was, kids' imagination, living out in the country where I grew up. So there was lots of nights I would go out there to Joshua Tree National Park by myself, and I'd hike all the way into the park about 10 miles. I'd hike out about 10 miles. I'd get out of there about 7 o'clock. I tried to get out of there before the daylight because even if it was 9 o'clock in the morning, it would already be 100 degrees. So you wanted to get out of there early. I seen it and witnessed it, so I believe it. Did you ever go to Marfa, Texas? Yeah, I've been through there, but I never saw all the lights coming out of the ground. I've been through there during the day, but I haven't ever stopped and watched the marvelous Marfa lights that come out of the ground, Lee Nortz. Good to see you, Lee. But yeah, that's a phenomenon that happens that you can just drive out there and watch. But anyway, hi, Lee. Long time no see, Marfa. Yeah, long time no see, Lee. Good to see you. But anyway, one night I did my. We got 7 people in the room. We got 3 likes, guys. Don't forget to hit that like button. But I got my Subway sandwich, and I headed out to Joshua Tree National Park, and I ate my sandwich. And one thing I never did, let me see. I'm going to try to find something for you guys. One thing I never did was I never really did any looking around, or I never did any photography or anything around that very first rock formation that was in the Joshua Tree National Park. I would go into the park, but I would stop at that one every time because it was the first one in the park, and I would stop at that first rock formation, and I would eat my sandwich. So, but I would never really do any. I would never really do any photography around that one because it was there really wasn't a whole lot to do with that very first formation. It's mostly just a little tourist trap right there, the first formation in Joshua Tree National Park. So it just wasn't, I didn't think it was aesthetically pleasing enough to waste time doing anything there at that particular rock formation. So I would always just eat my sandwich, and then once I got done eating my sandwich, I would get in my truck and then go ahead and drive on down to the next, or wherever I had planned to go in the park that night. But this one night, for some reason, I had decided that I was actually going to, I was going to shoot some photos. I was like, well, I'm here. I should just try to take some photos right here around this rock formation, because the moon was very, very bright, but the clouds, it was a cloudy night. So the clouds would move in and cover up the moon, and then it would get really dark. And I was trying to shoot by the moonlight. And so these were big clouds. So when the cloud covering would come up, I sit there eating my sandwich. And one time I probably, it was probably 6, 7, 8 minutes of just complete black, because the clouds had covered up the moon and they were thick clouds. So we had a break in the clouds. And so I'd finished my sandwich. So I ran out and grabbed my camera gear and a tripod. So I'm carrying a big tripod with a big camera on the tripod. And I'm walking around, so I start walking around the rock formation. And, the only thing I was worried about was snakes. I had encountered stuff at a distance, like coyotes and other things, and other things that were so far away I wasn't sure what they were, but I knew they were some kind of animal, and they were just as scared. They were more scared of me than I was scared of them. So they would stop and I would stop. We'd kind of look at each other for a minute, and we would be probably 30, 40 yards apart, and then all of a sudden they would just take off running. So, that kind of thing. Coyotes don't scare me either. There's not really anything out there that scares me. They have bighorn sheep out there. There's all kinds of stuff, but there's nothing out there that I was really worried about. So I'm sitting there. I get finished eating, and I'm walking around this rock formation that I've walked around many, many times during the day. So I'm very familiar with where I'm at, and the rock formation that I'm walking around. And I'm taking these photos from a distance from this rock formation, and I set my camera down, and let me see. So I set my camera down, and I'm going to show you guys a photo. So I set my camera down, and I take this photo. And the thing that about my night photography in Joshua Tree National Park is people would be astounded because they thought they were taken during the day. Because the moon, I would slow my shutter speed down so slow. And the only reason you could really understand that it wasn't the day is because you could see stars. You'll be able to see stars in my photographs. But anyway, this one night I'm walking around. I take a photo, and then I start walking. And as I'm walking, there's this huge rock formation that's probably about at the end of it, it's probably maybe about 10 feet, 11 feet tall, possibly, maybe a little taller. And I'm walking, and I kind of got my head down, and I'm concentrating on the shot I just took. And I kind of glance up, and I'm looking, and I'm looking at something looking directly at me. And but I look at it, and then I kind of look away, and then I was like, wait a minute, was that something? And I look right back at it, and it's still looking right at me, and I'm looking right at it. And I'm looking at it, and I'm still walking directly to it, and I've got my camera up on my shoulder, and I'm walking directly at it. And I'm like, wait a minute, is that something looking at me? Is that something? And as I just kind of like really concentrate on it, I can see this shadowy figure looking at me, it literally just turns and just disappears behind it. All I see is the shoulders turn and the head turn, and it just moves behind the rock. Lee Nortz, no, Lee Nortz, not a mountain lion, buddy. This thing had to have been like 15, 20 foot tall. It was looking at me over the mountain, over the rock. It was, all I could see was about what you see of me. All I could see was the shoulders and the head, but there was no face. It was just like a shadow. It was like a shadowy figure. A spirit apparition. Yeah, so I don't know. I've talked to people about this because there was a lot of Native American stuff out there. So anyway, as soon as it turned and walked behind the rock, I took off running. I took off running because I wanted to see this thing. So I took off running directly at it, or directly at the rock. So I had to go around the end of the rock, into the rocks to get over to see what was there. And by the time I get over there, there's literally nothing there. And I'm standing there. Now I'm standing there in confusion because I'm looking, because then it dawns on me, like, wait a minute. So I'm looking up at this rock and I'm thinking, okay, whatever that was, because at first I'm just like, well, there's a guy or something standing there looking at me. And then when I'm standing there now behind the rock and it's dark, it's really dark behind the rock. And I'm thinking to myself, well, wait a minute, whatever was looking at me would have had to have been 15 foot tall, at least, maybe taller, which doesn't make any sense. So now I'm thinking, well, I just must have seen something. It must have been a cloud, but then I'm going, no, I mean, I could see something standing there. I could see this much, of something looking at me over the rocks. So I'm going to post a picture because, this whole account that I'm talking to you guys about, I actually drove directly home and blogged about it. So this is the picture that I drew on my blog, because I used to have a blog that I did. So I just posted the picture, so you guys can take a look at the picture that I just posted in the room. And it didn't do the picture; it did the whole blog. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can find the picture. That wasn't what I was trying to do. Anyway, wonder why it did that. Let's try this again. So anyway, okay, no worries, Random Nomad. We'll be here. Let me see if this will be the picture. Nope. It does. It just posts the whole blog. I can't post the picture. Anyway, so I'm a little bit beside myself after this happened. I'm just, I'm not spooked. I'm just confused. And basically thinking I just saw something. It must have been the shadow of the moon. I'm thinking it was probably what I really thought it was, or what I tried to tell myself it was I figured it was the shadows of the clouds moving across the moon. That's what I figured it was, because there was a lot, the clouds were moving really fast that night. Remember I said it was a cloudy night, and you could see these weird shadows in the desert when the clouds would cross the moon. They would cast sometimes these weird shadows. So I start telling myself that, okay, that's all it was. There had to be a rational explanation for it. And I just saw something that wasn't what I thought it was. I thought it was something, somebody. So then I just kind of shook it off. Like, okay, yeah, that's exactly what it was. It was just the clouds going across the moon, and it was just the shadow drop. The way the shadow dropped on the rocks made it look like something sitting there looking at me. Jeez, I'm such an idiot. I'm so silly. So I go and I start just right around where I just saw that thing. I just walked right out there and with those rocks to my back, and just started taking some more photographs just to shake it off, not think anything about it. And as I'm standing there doing my photographs, the hair starts standing up on the back of my neck. So I can feel somebody watching me. So I grab my camera and I pick it back up, and I kind of slowly turn around, because now I think I'm going to turn around and see somebody again, seeing something again looking at me. So I turn around and I'm looking at the rocks, and I'm on the back side of the rock face, so it's really dark. You can't really see into the rocks. It's dark on this side of the rocks. On the other side of the rocks where I'd seen what I was seeing, it was all light over there because of the moon. So now I'm sitting there looking at the rocks, and I start getting a little wigged out. I don't really like to say I get scared, but I started getting a little wigged out. I was like, okay, there's actually something here. This isn't just random. There wasn't clouds. There's something here. I can feel something here. So I start saying, okay, I'm gonna get out of here. This is the universe telling me I don't ever shoot here anyway. This is what I get for shooting here. You know what I mean? I'm going to move on. So I start moving towards my truck, and my truck is literally it's about 25 yards, 30 yards from where I am, in the parking lot. So I start walking towards my truck, and I'm not really scared. I'm just heightened senses, I guess what you could call it. And I got my camera on my shoulder, and I'm walking towards my truck, and as I'm walking, I can feel whatever it is in the rocks walking with me. It's right there. I can feel it moving with me. And I would literally stop and look at the rocks and to see if I could see anything in the rocks moving. But then I'm thinking this thing was huge. It's not something little in the rocks. That doesn't even make sense to me. So anyway, I keep moving towards my truck, and by the time I get within like 15 foot of my truck is like it's probably about 50 feet from me. About a truck. It's about a truck trailer away, from me, and I get to the end of the rock formation. So now I feel safe because my truck's right there. I can get to my truck. So I literally just stop and turn around and look and just keep looking at the rocks. To see if I can see something. I'm looking up at the rocks because I can feel a presence right there. I just can't see them, but I know they're right there. And so I couldn't see anything, but I would hear some rustling in the brush and stuff. I would hear like a rustling, and I would just stop, be real quiet, and then it would stop. I'd hear rustling, and then I'd stop, be real quiet, and then it would stop and be real quiet. And so I was like, I've gotten spooked because I thought I saw the clouds. I'm rationalizing it to myself. I'm like, okay, it was the clouds going across the moon. It made me feel like I saw something, and now I'm letting my mind play tricks on me. So, but at this time, as I'm sitting there thinking this, I hear something right there, like 12, 15 foot away from me, right at the end of the rocks. I hear a real stir in the rocks. So that kind of freaked me out. So now I'm making a fast walk pace to my truck. I'm not running, but I'm walking fast, and I'm kind of looking over my shoulder to see if there's like something following me. Don't hear anything. I'm listening for footsteps, but I'm power walking. I'm walking fast to my truck. So I get to my truck, I pop the back door of my truck open, and because I've got this huge tripod with it's big camera that's filming this right now, on top of the tripod, I dump that in the back seat really quick, shut the door, and I usually am real careful and get in and, fold the tripod up and put it in the very back of the truck with all the gear and stuff. I didn't even do that. I popped the back door of my truck into the back seat, laid that camera and the tripod in the back seat without folding it up, and shut the door, opened my driver's door, jumped in the truck, shut the door, and just sat there looking directly out at the rock that I just came from, and just sitting there looking at it, see if I see anything. And I'm not seeing nothing. And at this time, the clouds have already moved across the moon, so it's pitch black. You can't really see anything, but I'm still just sitting there looking because I want to see if I see anything move away from the rock or anything, but I don't see anything. But I can still sense something is just sitting there as I'm looking at the rock. Something sitting there looking at me. So I'm sitting there and I'm confused. I don't want to say I'm scared, but I'm confused about the whole experience. Because I never had any experience like this, and I'd been out in the Joshua Tree National Park. I'd hiked miles and miles into the park. This was the first tourist stop. If you're going to run into like an apparition or something, it's not going to be at the first little tourist stop where the bathrooms are. I've been out in the middle of the freaking park where I could have gotten disappeared and nobody would have ever found me. I mean, 10 miles in, hiked 10 miles into like the Lost Horse Mine where they found the owner dead on the road back in the 1800s, and his body's buried under a bunch of rocks right on the side of the road. He's still there. I've been out there in the middle of the night. So why is this happening at this little tourist spot is what is one thing that's going through my mind. But anyway, I say to myself, like, hey, I'm back in my truck, so let's just let's start the truck and just get out of here. Let's go on down in the park. We weren't going to do any photography anyway. I had an agenda for the night of places I wanted to shoot. So let's start the truck and get on down into the park and get away from this area and just forget about it and go on about our business. So I reach over and I start my truck, put it in reverse and back out and start to leave, and it dies. It won't go. And then it dies. So now I'm like, this is like some kind of movie bull crap. I'm like, this what? So I reach over, start my truck again, and it starts right up like nothing's going on. I put it in drive, I push the gas, and it won't go. It's just bogging down. It won't go. So I'm driving out and it's going, but it's going like 5 miles an hour. I'm pushing the gas all the way down and it's just barely going. And I'm like, what is going on? And so I make a right to go out on down into the park. I go ahead and make the right to go on down into the park. But my truck is still just messing up. So now I'm like, okay, now I'm really worried because I'm 5 miles into the park and there's no cell service where I'm at. If you've ever been out in Joshua Tree National Park, there's no cell service out there. I have a phone, there's no service. So I'm thinking, so now my truck is broke down. If there is something out here, I'm with it. Because once my truck is broke down, I'll be outside the truck. So I make an immediate right back into the little picnic area or back into the rock formation that I was leaving. That's the only way you can do it because the road is, you really can't just flip a bitch in the road. And so I was already rolling. I had some momentum going. So I literally just turned right. I made a right back into where the picnic tables were, where I had my Subway sandwich, which would lead me right back around exactly where I was just parked and where I just saw whatever it was I saw. But I didn't really have a choice because I didn't want to roll to a stop. I wanted to keep the truck moving. So I come back around and it's just crawling. The truck's just crawling along. And it's trying to die, but if I pump it a little bit, it won't die. But it's just enough. It's like if you had a couple people pushing it. That's about how fast I'm going. It's just barely going. So I go ahead and roll. So just as I get to the end of the rock formation where I was just parked at, I'm thinking to myself, it's going to die right there. I'm going to be back and be stuck. My truck is going to be dead exactly where whatever is going on. It's going to stop me right there where I was is what I'm thinking is going to happen. But luckily, just as I got to that point, I'm looking out my window too, because I'm looking for something to see because I feel like something's causing this. So I'm looking out my window to see if I see anything over there as I'm driving right by this rock formation that I was just at. And just as I got to that rock formation, I get a little kick. My truck, and it actually gives me a little bit of acceleration that kind of jolts me out back into the road. So there's a real road that you come into Joshua Tree National Park on. And then there's these turnouts where there's these rock formations that you can turn out. And there's some of them have bathrooms and picnic tables, and they'll have a big, beautiful rock formation that the kids love to crawl on during the day. And they even climb up on them during the day. And, some of them are, some of them are like 10, 15 foot tall. Some of them are 20 or 30 foot tall. And then some of them are 70, 80 foot tall, maybe 100 foot. I've seen guys get up on top of these rocks and they look tiny up on top of these rock formations. So there's huge rock formations out there. And this one's one of the smaller ones because it's one of the first ones when you enter the park. But it's probably about maybe 15, 20 foot tall at the highest points. And but anyway, I get a little jolt and I get past this rock formation back to the road. And instead of turning right again, I had an inclination of turning right, thinking, okay, I still wanted to get into the park. I mean, this is a whole day of prep work, getting ready to go do these night shoots. It wasn't like I just threw my camera in the truck and, just run out there, hey, I'm just going to run out there and get this, get a couple of shots. No, this is a whole day. I start like 4:30, 5 o'clock, prepping gear, getting ready to shoot for that night, getting all my cards cleared and everything ready to go. So it wasn't something that I just took lightly. So I literally decided I was going to turn right again and try to, since my truck it kind of started going, and see if I could get down into the park. But at that split second, as I could turn right, something told me, hey, turn left and get the hell out of here. So I did. Just as I was getting ready to turn right, I had that inclination of just, something said, hey, don't turn right. Turn left. So I turned left, which put me driving back past. I'm on the road now, so I'm a little distance from that rock formation. But I turned left, and my truck is still it's going like 3-4 miles an hour. It's just barely going, and I have my foot on the accelerator all the way to the floor. And it's just barely rolling along. It's not sputtering. It's not it's not doing anything. It's not like, like if you're out of gas or, that's why I was thinking like maybe a rat chewed a hole in my fuel line or something, and I'm running out of gas. But it wasn't spitting and sputtering like it was out of gas, but it was acting like it was out of gas. And anyway, as I'm rolling, I turn left, and there was a little bit of momentum, so I start picking up a little bit of speed. And as I start going and getting further and further away from that rock formation, the faster my truck would go. And just as I cleared it, it took probably about a minute or 2 minutes to get past that rock formation. My truck kicked off and started running like there was nothing wrong with it. And I drove it right out of the park and didn't do that again. I was scared to death. I was going to get down into the, on the way out, it was going to do it again. So the speed limit through the park is like 35 miles an hour. I'm doing 60. And there's turns that says like 20 miles an hour, curves and stuff. I'm taking them like at 60 miles an hour because if my truck died again, I wanted to have some momentum for it to roll as far as it would roll so I could screw around with the accelerator to keep, so hopefully it'd kick in again. But anyway, I drove right out of the park. It drove right out of the park, and I drove right back to the subway that I just left like an hour, 2 hours before, into the Valero. I pulled into the Valero and I parked, and I just turned my truck off, and I thought, well, I'm going to turn it off here and it won't start again. So as soon as I turned it off, I was like, I should have left it running and just get it home, because now I'll have to tow it home or tow it to the shop from the Valero because it's probably not going to start. But then I was like, well, if it's out of gas, maybe my gas gauge is working, but I'm out of gas. But I was like, that can't be. That doesn't make any sense. So anyway, I sit there for probably about 5 minutes, and then I'm dreading turning my truck back on because I don't think it's going to start. So I reach over, and I was like, well, at least let me try to get it home. So I reach over, start the truck. It starts right up like nothing's wrong with it. I put it in reverse, put it in drive, drove it straight home, no problem. Pulled into my house, pulled into the drive. The moon's back out now. There's not a cloud in the sky. The clouds where my house is, there's not a cloud in the sky. It's just this big open sky and this big, huge, beautiful, beautiful, bright full moon, which I needed to shoot my photos. But I pulled into, and as I stop, I'm like, I should go back. Now the sky's perfect. This is exactly what I was waiting for. I knew this was going to happen. But I'm like, nope, I'm not going back. So I sat there, I unloaded everything out. I started unloading my gear out of my truck. I ended up getting my camera out of my truck, but my adrenaline was going so fast that I thought, I need to write this down. I need to document this so I remember it while it's fresh in my mind. So I went inside, and I had a blog at that time, and I posted the link. So if you want to read my account of exactly what happened, this happened in 2015. If you want to read, I will just post the link in the room to my blog, and you can read my account, because that's what I did. I went right in the house, and I sat down, I got on my blog, and I wrote down exactly what I remembered. And to this day, I still don't have any idea, because I don't really believe in ghosts. I don't believe in any of that stuff. I mean, I don't know, maybe there's ghosts and stuff, but I've never really had an experience of seeing anything like that. So I don't know what it was. I don't know if my mind was playing tricks on me, or I have no idea. But I did go in and I wrote it all down. So if you like to read, it's not letting you click the link. Oh, that's weird, because I clicked it. Can anybody else click it? Let me try it. Let me try to post it one more time. Maybe it got corrupted. Anyway, Lee Nort, you got it open? Okay, perfect. Maybe you got some kind of, maybe you have something blocking. You have a blocker or something. Random Nomad. Right click on it and click open in the new tab. Good advice, Freedom Dove. So anyway, you guys can read that. We're coming up on an hour, so I just wanted to give you my 411, because all of the accounts. So that's how I stumbled on missing 411, because when this happened, I got really in depth into, because I was thinking to myself, if it had been something and it would have got me, nobody would have ever known it, because I never told anybody I was going out to the desert. My truck would have just been left there in the parking lot by itself, and I would have been gone. And so I started looking into, I just typed in disappearance in national parks, and missing 411 come up. And then I went all the way down this rabbit hole of all these people that have disappeared under these weird circumstances in national parks. And the National Park Service knows about it, but they won't even put a list together. There's no list. There's been hundreds of people that have disappeared, all the way back to like the 40s and 50s. There's been hundreds of people that have disappeared, but there's not even a list of these people that have disappeared in national parks. So I wanted to give you guys my little account of, I'm not going to say it was paranormal, but it was definitely a strange occurrence that I ended up experiencing that night. And, I had went out to Giant Rock. I guess I won't get my national park pass. I had went out to Giant Rock. If anybody knows where Giant Rock is, it's out in Joshua Tree. It's by the Intellitron, which is this place, this magical place. Giant Rock is the largest freestanding boulder in the United States. I don't want to say on the North American continent, or it's one of the largest boulders in the world. It's as tall as a 7-story building, and it's on like this dry lake bed out towards Joshua Tree. It was about 20 miles from my house. And they used to have UFO back in the 50s and the 60s, I guess, or 40s and 50s. They would have these UFO like Burning Man out there. Like there would be like 1,500 people out there. 5 to 1,500 people would show up at Giant Rock. And the Native Americans in the area back in those days would not let anybody approach the rock unless that was elders. You had to be like a chief, a medicine man, or higher up is the only ones that was allowed to approach the rock and touch the rock. So just like the Egyptian pyramids and the Bermuda Triangle, Giant Rock sets on the 33rd parallel. So I would go out there, and I've spent many a night up on the rock formation by Giant Rock, waiting for the sun to come up to take pictures. And you'll see a picture on my one of the pictures on my website shows giant rock early in the morning. And I thought if I was ever going to see anything out there, I would see it at Giant Rock. And I never saw anything. I sat out there night after night, or not night after night, but I spent probably 15 or 20 nights out there all by myself in the middle of the desert, and nothing. The only encounter I ever had out there is I was climbing up the rock formation, and I think there was a rattlesnake, and I startled the rattlesnake, and I heard the rattle, and I jumped back, and I ended up falling down the rock some, because I'm crawling up the rock in the middle of the night. But that was the only thing, and that was a snake. I could hear it was a snake. I heard the rattles. But I jumped back and ended up losing my balance, and I fell probably about 8 foot down the rock before I could catch myself. But those are the kind of encounters I expected, you know what I mean? I didn't expect the other thing I ran into at the park. Let's see. Amy Preston says, I will send you a story about when my vehicle was moved from in front of an 18-wheeler when I was seconds from a head-on collision. Ooh, that sounds like a good one, Amy. Yeah, I'd love to hear that. So anyway, guys, we just hit an hour, and I want to stop this at an hour. I do want to give a big shout-out and a big thank you to Random Nomad. I literally got a alert today from a donation that he made for $45. And last podcast, I think he made a donation of $25. So Random Nomad, thank you so much, buddy. You don't know how much I do appreciate that. I really, really do appreciate that. From the bottom of my heart, man, that makes me feel like everything I'm doing here is worth all the what I'm trying to put into it to make it interesting for you guys. It was Angels Freedom. I saw them. Thank you, buddy. I really appreciate that. And you guys know, if you don't know, I did get a merch store together. I'm not trying to push merch on you guys, but I was talking to my buddy Noah about it, and I said I kind of feel weird because these guys are like donating and stuff, but if you want to have something to show, instead of just giving me money or donating, giving me a tip or whatever, if you buy merch, I'll make a little bit money, make a little tip on that too, and then that way you guys actually have something physical for the money that you've put into it. Just something to think about. Just another avenue. Oh, that's what I was actually talking about the last stream when the last stream cut off. I was bragging about how we had done the whole stream on my jetpack when the stream died, and then got in the room. I actually wanted to get some feedback from you guys on the merch store. I've only got one design in there right now, and I did the design myself. So I just wanted to get some feedback from you guys on what you thought of the design, if you like it, or if you think it needs a little work or whatever. And why is this not working? Just going to try to get the, oh, I see what's not working because it didn't put the whole, URL in there. I was going to post the link to the merch store for you guys. That's what I love about that Stream Deck, man. I can't wait to get one because I'll be able to just program these things into that Stream Deck, and I'm not looking around for this stuff on my computer. I can push a button and it'll pop the link right into the room. There we go. Let's see. Now this should be the link here. So there's a merch store. I just posted a link for you guys in the chat. If you guys want to take a look at it, take a look at my design. Tell me what you think. I'm going to be putting a few more designs together. I looked at the pricing. Some of the stuff, a lot of the stuff, I brought the pricing down because I thought it was a little bit too expensive. So I'd knocked some of their, they have default pricing set, but you can kind of set your own pricing. So some of the stuff like I brought the pricing down a little bit, like the coffee cup, the mug. Their default price was $15.99. I brought it down to $12.99. I thought that was a little too expensive for a freaking coffee mug. $15.99. You can go to Ross and get a coffee mug with like an inspirational saying on it for like $6.99, $8.99. Anyway, guys, yeah, check it out. Let me know what you think. That's my first design. I'm going to be putting some more designs together. So if anybody wants to purchase any American Nomad merch, I'm going to be putting some, I'm going to do a shirt that says American Nomad Podcast on there. So if you do want a podcast shirt, that kind of stuff. But the first one I put on there, I just wanted something, hey, thank you, Freedom Dove. I just wanted something that just said American Nomad, so it didn't really point to the podcast so much. You like, the hoodies are expensive. That's one thing I don't think I marked down. And they're like $47 or something like that. Let me look. That's one thing I didn't change. Yeah, it's $47.99. I didn't mark the hoodies down. That's probably, I should probably do that because I think that's a little expensive for a hoodie. Anyway, guys, yeah, so we changed tank tops, please. Okay, is it there are no tank tops on there, Freedom Dove? I'll have to check. Yeah, I don't think there is tank tops. There's a lot of women's. You can click on the women's. Let's see. Women's t-shirts. Yeah, there's no tank tops. We'll have to look at getting some tank tops put together. How much for the Who tee? You know, I had a whole box of these. I was going to give them away to, I actually was supposed to give 2 of them away, and just everything went sideways with that. So I don't have them anymore. They ended up, the box of them stayed at my old work. I forgot to pick the box up when I was leaving and moving out of there. But I had a whole box of them. We made these and they all used to go to Walmart. And I had a whole box of them, probably about 30 or 40 of these t-shirts. They still had the Walmart tag in them. We made them and then Walmart decided they didn't want them or something. I can't remember what happened. So we had a whole box of them. And I had planned on giving them away to you guys, and then shipping over there was a nightmare. So it's not near as bad here. I can actually ship stuff out here. Freedom Dove says, awesome, I don't like t-shirts. Well, you just have to cut it off and make a tank top out of your own t-shirt, out of the t-shirt, Freedom Dove. Now, I'll have to look into that. I basically can only, you use whatever they have. They have the blanks. It's all Teespring. So I might have to do like a custom one-off or something on a different store. I put up a different store as well, but I did a test store using Stream Elements. Oh, you're in Idaho, Freedom Dove? I'm so jealous. I love Idaho. We can ship stuff to you. Yes, you can. I'm going to be putting I'll put a box or a address and stuff together in the description at some point. So you can, if you guys want to send me stuff. And if you do order anything, send me a picture of it, and I will put it in my Facebook stories, and I'll link if you want to get linked or if you anything, I'll be glad to do that. I kind of thought the masks were cool in the store. I mean, I'm not big into masks, but if you're going to have to wear a mask, I thought, at least have one that's kind of cool. I actually went into a convenience store before I came to work because I had to grab something to drink. And there was a guy in there without a mask. I had a mask on, but he didn't have a mask on. I was like, wow, it's so good to be in a store and somebody doesn't have a mask on. The guy that was paying in front of me didn't have a mask on. Oh, you're going there next week to pick up your rig, Freedom Dove? That's awesome. Congratulations. You got a new rig? Freedom Dove says, I hate masks, but I'll order one. I do too, Freedom Dove. I hate them as well. You could order a sticker or something. There's some little stickers that are really economical and cheap. So I think I have another store. So basically what I did is the company mandate. So the store that I have, the Teespring store, they have a lot of stuff. But Stream Elements, this new software that I'm talking about that I'm using that helps me do these transitions and stuff, they're great. And they also have a merch store. So I went in and set up the merch store through them first. And it gave me an idea of how to do the merch store. So then it inspired me to actually try to do a real store. But what I'm thinking I'm going to do is I'm going to use the Stream Elements for you guys to order stuff like that. It's really super cheap. You know what I mean? As cheap as cheap, because it's cheaper than the Teespring stuff. I think I can get the stuff on the Stream Elements. I think I'm going to put like a basic t-shirt on there that maybe hopefully I can get it down to like $10.99 or something like that. That way, if you want just something cheap, you can grab it off the Stream Elements. But if you want something nicer, you can get it off the Teespring. Does that make sense? I want to do just like a basic car or basic sticker, just a really cheap sticker like $5.99 or $6.99 or something like that. And then just a regular basic little cheap regular t-shirt that's super cheap. And I think I can do that on the Stream Elements store. So we'll see. Make some mask that says tyranny. That's not a bad idea. But that's what I want to do, is make some masks that, like some Trump 2020, just something that's going to trigger somebody. All right, guys, we're hour and 11 minutes here. I'm trying to keep these things down to keeping them right at not much more than an hour. I like the flag in your photo or something. Yeah, I did some redesign. So if you don't know, Facebook, as much as I hate Facebook and as much as I always bitch and complain about Facebook, and I am the biggest whiner. Every time Facebook does a big redesign, I usually lose it. I lose my shit because it irks me so bad because you can't find anything. They move everything around. It's still all the same shit. They just move it around and you can't find it. Yeah, no applause to that. They just move everything around where you can't find it, and it really irritates me. It really irritates me to no end. But Facebook has done a redesign on that's coming out. They're rolling it out now, and everybody will be getting it. But I've been a beta tester for Facebook since they've launched. So I've been beta testing this new Facebook for the last, I don't know, going on 3 weeks probably. And you can switch back to classic. So one time when I first switched over, it was glitching out. So I switched right back to classic for a week or so, and then went back to the new beta. I like it. I actually like this new design. I like it. You can put it on dark mode where it's not white. So Facebook is not white. It's like a gray black, which I have all of my other stuff. So it just looks more aesthetically pleasing to me. So I actually like, this is the first time Facebook's ever did an update that I didn't throw a fit and bitch and complain about it. I actually like it. So you'll be seeing it. Lee Nort says 6 inches of snow here in the next couple of days. What? Man, I was just talking about it was 121 degrees here, Lee. And over the weekend in Woodland Hills, they got up to 121 degrees. It was 111 here where I am in the OC. Random Nomad says, I haven't been on Facebook in forever since I can't remember my password and it won't let me reset mine. Oh, well, no biggie, I guess. You're not missing anything, Random Nomad. Believe me, you're not missing anything. It's just a bunch of people bitching and complaining about Trump or, it is what it is. Facebook, I think, is the worst these days, but I do like the new design that's coming out. All right, guys, I'm gonna wrap it up. We're hour and 15 minutes in, so I do just want to say thank you so much for joining me. I am going to be looking for other topics, like the 411, the missing 411. I want other topics. I get sick of talking about politics. I mean, I talk about politics a lot, but I get tired of that. So I just want to talk about other interesting stuff that maybe you guys are interested in too. Joel P. Oh yeah, we do have some fun with people, Joel. Yeah, we do. I'm the biggest troll on Facebook. If you're not following my Facebook page, you'll never know. I'm the biggest troll. I love trolling leftists on Facebook. And if you're a leftist, I apologize. One of them I've been trolling because I love trolling, making people lose it on Facebook. All right, guys, that is going to do it for this episode of the American Nomad. I want to thank you again, Random Nomad, for the $45 donation. I totally appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. Thank you guys for checking out the merch store. If you want to email me, let me know anything, you can email me at ravholly@gmail.com. And I'll be putting address and stuff down in the description. So if you want to mail me anything, you'll be able to do that. And that's going to do it for this episode of Random Nomad. Peace, chicken grease, guys. Whoops. That's why I need the Stream Deck.